So the first thing we'll look at inside of Matinee is the event track. And event tracks can be created on any of these groups if you just right click new event track. But like I said before, I like to keep everything at the top so I know exactly what's going on and nothing's muddled up down here. So just for organizational sake, I'll right click on director group and add new event track. And this event track, if we just scroll along that time bar just somewhere and we hit enter, we can give it an event name like play sound. Okay, and so we got play sound here, and you might be thinking, what does this do if we add that there? Well, if we deselect it, close down the Matinee, as we can see from our Matinee output now, we have a tab called play sound, and now we could play anything off this tab here. So if we just open up our Matinee and just delete that first play sound, and I'll show you what I've got in the event already. I've got a sound event and an explosion event. So this sound event hooks up to a sound here, and this sound is playing a type of grinding noise, I guess you'd call it. I couldn't really find a specific one, but it's a nice ambient sound just to add to Liam as he's sliding down the rope. I guess it'd be a metal grinding noise sliding down the rope. So the sound that I've used for that is, if I search it out, that's just a hoverboard engine cue. It's the closest one I could find. Ideally you'd want a custom sound in there, but it was just to add a bit more atmosphere to the scene. So I've got a sound playing off there, and that's the hoverboard sound. And then the explosion tab, if we look from here, has a little bit more depth to it. So I added the explosion tab just as the camera shot to camera 4, which means if you look at the perspective window here, camera 4, that's the explosion playing, so that means he smashed through the window, and that's when he bangs his head. So the explosion is a turn on emitter, and if I select this emitter in the level, and then I find it in the content browser, this is VH Death Dust Secondary, and I guess it's not, again, the ideal particle to use for this, but it's just basically a smash kind of explosion type thing with a bit of debris coming off it. So I've just scaled that up a bit and set that to play when the explosion happens. So on explosion, I've got a toggle turn on where you can hold T and left click, and that'll create a turn on toggle there. Or alternatively, you can right click new action, toggle, and that's just a standard toggle for you there. The one thing you do want to change in the particle emitter properties is auto active. So under emitter particle system component, auto active, you don't want that turning on at startup. So just untick that. Again, you could add a favorite there, auto active, because a lot of emitters in your scene don't want to be auto active. So just make sure that's unchecked there, and that's the only thing you need to change for there. After that, we've got a play camera animation, which is new action, camera, play camera animation. There's two of these, and I'm not entirely sure which one stopped working, but one of them stopped working for me. So for now, I've just got the play camera animation. No, it's not that one. That one didn't work for me. So I've got the second one down the list, right click, camera, and the play camera anim. And that's what I've got set up there. And you need the target as player 0. Just play around, because one or two of them may not work. So I'll just double check that one. But the camera anim that I have got played in there, if I find it, is just a VH death shake. And I guess you could find that easily by going on all types here. And you can select CameraAnims. And if you're in the overall UDK game content here, there's loads of different anims that you can choose from, but the death shake would be there. So it's the second row down, just under there, if you want to find that one. So as soon as you smash through the window, the explosion, I turn on the emitter. I also play a camera shake, so the screen wobbles a bit just to show the impact. And then I destroy the skeletal mesh. There's no need to hide or unhide the skeletal mesh being Liam up there. Because we don't need to use him again. We're not going to use him again in the cinematic, so I might as well just destroy him and kill him out my scene, which is new action, actor, destroy, and then just target the skeletal mesh there. And so that just gets rid of the actor out of the level. I guess it'd improve performance a little bit if you had lots of actors unreferenced in your scene. The other thing I've got going on is a toggle, which we had before, just a normal toggle hidden, which new action, toggle hidden. And what we are hiding and unhiding here is the actual window meshes that we've used to smash through. So if we just separate these out a little bit, I've got the actual sheet of glass here, which is the whole piece. So I've added that from my scene from the content browser, and that is a HU deck mesh, and it's just a window glass. I guess if you just type in glass here, you'll be able to find it. And I've also converted this to a mover. So it's a mover, so we can actually toggle it in Kismet. If you're finding errors in your Kismet when you're playing in game and it says can't access sequence toggle or something like that, make sure this is an interp actor and not a static mesh, because you can't toggle static meshes inside a UDK. So that's the whole window. If we just find this, right click find in Kismet, and we actually have our Kismet open, that's the first actor that we've got here, which is actor 23. And if we bring up F4, the properties aren't hidden. So this is true by default. It's viewable to the player. And then when we toggle this, it hides it. So that's shown by default, hidden after the toggle. This one is the same. Make sure it's interp actor. And if we find that, that's hooked up to there. And if we press F4, that's also viewable by default. And so move those two out of the way. And these are the two meshes here now that are unhidden in the Kismet setup. So again, both interp actors, and if we bring up the properties, these are hidden by default. If we select this window piece as well, hidden by default. So if we press G right now, just to show the game, we can see that these two are visible and those two aren't. So if we press G again, just to bring them back, that means that these two will toggle to hidden and these two will toggle from hidden to unhidden, so that it just shows the player smashing through. Like I said, ideally you'd want to have an actual modeled window with a broken version and an unbroken version, just so you can switch them out. But just for this tutorial, I've just demonstrated that. So I'll just move them back into place, just undoing. After I selected them a few hundred times. So they're back in place there. So that's what that toggle's doing. That's hiding and unhiding broken and unbroken window pieces. We've also got the toggle emitter there, and the camera animation, and the explosion. So that's what's coming off of that explosion here. So, I mean, anything that you can't do inside a Matinee, just create an event track and send off, you know, other Kismet actions out externally. So we got the play sound, and we got those all handled. The things under the Matinee are just the cameras. We can delete this out now because that was just the example. And then the other thing, after we've edited the smash through the window, now that we've got the sequence going, we want to edit these camera views. So a good way to edit these camera views is to actually look through the camera. So if we look through this camera here, we can see we're only looking through this camera at a given time. And this is a good way to edit camera pans. So say there's somewhere along the line that you want to look at. If we just hit enter now, we can kind of move our camera, and that'll give you a sharp turn to the right there. So it's a nice, like, organic way, I guess you'd say, of editing cameras. If you're actually looking through the cameras and adding keys as you go, you can maybe look back over here just by pressing enter, adding a key. And so if we scroll along there, we look to the right, back to the left, and looking through there. So that's a nice organic way. If I just delete all these keys. So we start from there, we fall going through this window, and then we're moving our key into place. We bang there, press enter, and move it to the floor again, just in the perspective window, etc. And then you can look around and kind of just have a play around with these. I mean, sometimes if you're moving too fast, you can select the action, hold down control, and just move it across a little bit, and just try and get the keys looking as organic as possible. So hopefully we can undo these and get them all back, and we can't. So I'll just load up the level again. So I've got my level loaded back up, and the reason why I had to restart that and re-edit these keys was because all of these other timings are like precisely timed with these here, so I need those for my demonstration. So going back into from event into slow-mo now, if we check out this slow-mo track, which we can add by right clicking on the director group, add new slow-mo track, we can see that these have just values that we can slow down time with. So to start off with, we don't want this entire sequence to be slow-mo. So if we just add a key at the beginning here and press enter and right click, set value, and we want this set at 1. 1 is full speed, 0 would be very, very slow motion. And if we right click here and set value, this should be 1 as well. So 2 keys here, if you follow along with this example, just inside the shot to camera 4. So when you're flying through the air, just at this point here, that's when I want to start slow motion. So these 2 values will both be 1. And then if we zoom in here, as we're falling, we've got this bang on the wall there, and so this is the bit that I want to be slow motion. So if I just right click on this value here, and that goes down to 0.2. So between these 2 values here, we're falling from 1 to 0.2, which is quite slow motion. And then this value after it ramps it straight back up to 1. So we're kind of falling, slow motion there, and then boom, we're fast again. Because the reason why I wanted to make it straight fast again was I wanted the player to feel the full impact of this wall. So you always got to be thinking about what's actually happening in the cinematic, and you kind of arrange it so that you're happy with the layout of it. For me, I was flying through the air, and I thought flying through the air would be a really nice slow motion, and then just before I'm about to hit my head on the wall, speed up, and so the player can feel that full impact of the wall. And so that's only really what I've got on the slow motion track. Just remember, 1 is a full value, 0.2 takes it down, and then you could even go to 0.1, and I think you could even go to 0.05. I'm not sure if you can go that low, but play around with those, keeping in mind that 1's the full, and you've got to bring it back up to 1, otherwise the rest of this track would be playing in 0.2 as well. So you've got to send it straight back up to 1 when you want it to play in normal speed. The next track we've got going on here is the fade track, and you can find that by again right clicking on the director group, and you can add a new fade track. And this fade track was only really for the benefit of the player hitting their head here and then the kind of blinking. So it's kind of good to create this type of realistic atmosphere. So if we right click on this value, 0 is there, so 0 is full. So whereas 1 is the normal for slow-mo, 0 is the normal for fade. So it kind of gets a bit confusing, but just you'll soon realize when the screen goes blank if you have it at the wrong value. Whereas with the slow-mo track, we have to set a value of 1 and then 1 as to not slow down for the entire sequence. Fade doesn't really matter. It will always be on by default, so you can just add your keys further on in the sequence. So we've right click, set value, we've got that at 0. So that's the default value, and then we set this to 1. So just as we're flying through the window here, we bang 1, and then we bring it straight back up to 1 again, and so we fall, and then as we're scrubbing along here, we've got that kind of fade out there at the end. It's always nice to add a little fade out at the end of the track, unless you're carrying on gameplay instantly from there. So this value would be 0 there, and then this value would be a 1, just to fade it out at the end of the sequence. So I didn't need a start key for the fade, but I did need to set it at 0 there, sorry. Otherwise, over the course of 6 seconds, it would be gradually fading into black. So we don't want that. We want it staying at 1 all the way through, and then you can start editing the properties there. And then the last track we've got in the director group is the sound. And this is just a way to add, I just wanted to show you how to add sound inside of Matinee rather than doing it externally with a play sound. You can also do it in Matinee just by right clicking on your director group or any other group that you want the sound, and then you can add a new soundtrack. And this again needs a sound cue. So I've got glass broken here. If I just close this down, I'll find it in my content browser for you. Glass, and you can choose one of those. And then just with it selected, inside your sound cue, you can right click, you can double click your Matinee, and just wherever along the sequence you want it, if you just select sound, you just press enter, and it'll add the sound cue there for you. So I'll just delete this one, and this one was just to show the breaking of the glass as you went through the window. So I've used footstep, glass broken, land cue there, and that'll just play a glass smash sound as you fly through the window. And so rounding that Matinee out, I think that's pretty much everything. Just keeping in mind, you don't want properties gradually fading over time, so you do want default value of the original value there if you are editing further down the line. Same with the movement track. If you added starting a movement there, it'd gradually start moving over that time. So you'd want to kind of duplicate those set first keys until you want to start editing them. That's a main thing to keep in mind. And apart from that, things can start getting pretty complex, but if you go through it step by step, it is pretty easy to follow along with. So that's everything inside of Matinee. And that's everything for our sequence apart from the final bit. And the final bit is just a teleport, and that's the reason why we have this note here. And if your Matinee sequence, takes the player from one area of the level into the next, then you'll need a teleport. Otherwise, after the sequence plays and you've smashed through the glass and you wake up there, you'll still be back over here. So this teleport is just a way to get the player from one area of the level to the next. So as we said before, we added a note to our scene from actor classes in there, and it's in uncategorized and note. And to get our teleport, we right click, new actor, action, actor, teleport. And so we got two properties here. We got the target and the destination. The destination will be that note. If I just delete that out there, with it selected in our level, we right click, add new object using note. And then the target will be the player. So we can hold P and left click for a player variable. Or you can right click, new variable, player. And we've got the toggle cinematic at the end of this as well with the player. So we don't need two variables. We can just use that there. And that's the note that we're teleporting to. And if your note's not working, just build past. That seems to work when teleporters are being used, just so the player knows where they're teleporting to. And apart from that, that's pretty much the entire sequence. We've got events coming off there. We've learned how to use actions externally from Matinee, and also learned quite a bit about Matinee groups and tracks in here. Just a few things to keep things organized. Just make sure you use all the events, Slowmo, Fade, anything that you're adding to the director group at the top so that they're not affected further down there. And just have a play around with all the different tracks. You can't really break it. As you saw before, you can't undo edited tracks, so that's one thing to watch out for. And just remember to keep saving when you're doing your Matinee and testing it out. So we'll just do one quick fly through of the Matinee just to show you everything that we did. And then that'll be pretty much it for this tutorial. So just right click play from here. So we're jumping up our boxes. We got the message saying press E. We press E here. And then we got camera 1, camera 2, camera 1 again, camera 2 with the animations as well. Smash through the window, bang our head, and then we wake up and it fades out. With this sequence, I just died. So one thing to keep in mind that I had previously reset. You see this red line in the editor. This comes with all the newer kind of versions of UDK. So if you've got a red line going across your scene and you're going below the scene, we go to View, World Properties, and you've got this property called Kill Z here on the zone info. So we'll just change that to -3000 or something like that, and we see the red line drop right to the end of level. And this is where it's like the cutoff for the players. So this is where they die. If you want to bring it up a bit, to 1000, so if they fell below this room here, and maybe 1100 would be a better property to put there. But if they drop below this room, then it'd kill them. So if your player is dying straight on impact after that, just make sure you change your kill Z there. And apart from that, that's pretty much everything about cinematics. Like I said, go back to the UDM page, check out all that information, and just have a play around and get things with nice timings, choose some nice animations, and just throw it all together for some pretty cool cinematics. Thanks.